Hello, everybody. It's Jessica Martin here with Martin Management. I'm excited to have with me here today Zach Rigsby from Henry Schein. Thank you for coming, Zach.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and Zach is an equipment sales specialist, and I brought him here today because I thought it might be helpful for you to see what's possible in terms of what support your vendor can provide you. So some of you might know my husband and I are building a new dental practice, and we've been utilizing Zach and the Henry Schein team to really help us with a lot of aspects of the new practice. So whether it comes to floor planning, equipment, mapping out, what we need and what sizing we need for different rooms. It's just been really great to work with Zach. And so I thought, gosh, I didn't know this really existed before we got into this process. And so I wanted to bring Zach on so that he can share with you how they can be helpful and at what point in the process it makes sense to start talking with someone like Zach to really help you make some informed decisions. So Zach, I'm going to turn it over to you. Let us know what it looks like in terms of what you can do to support dental practices looking to either renovate or build something new.
Absolutely. And thank you for the opportunity, Jessica. So as Jessica explained, I am a local equipment sales specialist for Henry Schein Dental. We have individuals and specialists like me spread out all across the country to meet any needs in any state where a project might be going on and happening. So kind of how it all starts, cliff view, sky view. Jessica and Dr. Martin work with a local field sales consultant, which happens to be Matt Mackey from the Wisconsin branch. Matt would discover and uncover the opportunity that Dr. Martin and Jessica have vision and have future plans to build a practice or for an expansion. And in their case, it was a new location. So at that point, Matt would then get one of his local specialists, which happens to be me, Zach, to come in to meet with the Martins and go through what their vision might be for that practice. So the initial conversation is to just understand what their goals, needs, and vision might be for that new location. And then we move it into the following planning stage, which in that case would be uncovering what the needs might be for the space itself, what type of treatments they'll be offering, layout, size, you name it. Then I take that information to my local design team, which is really unique to Henry Schein that other distributors might not offer. Henry Schein has dedicated designers specifically for the dental space and dental industry. And I'm fortunate enough to have my own designer out of Wisconsin that would work solely on my projects. So again, once we get that vision, need, and goal of the project, we then bring it over to the designers who start mapping and creating and space planning a location for the Martins, which in this case we have done so. From there, we start talking about equipment selections, what future needs might be that might not be relevant in today's discussion, but something we might want to plan for in the future. And Leah will be able to bring all of that into a design, which we then work with a local construction team, which the Martins have happened to come up with and meet on their behalf. And then we come together as a team and collaborate and move forward from there.
Yeah, something I want to mention, Zach, if we back up a little bit, I wish we had actually talked sooner than we did initially, because we were already kind of working with some different construction companies working on bids, and they were starting to develop floor plans for us, and we were struggling to get the right floor plan and really maximize space in the floor plan. And so we were getting kind of frustrated, and that's when we really started collaborating more closely, and then utilizing Henry Schein's design templates that they've done with a lot of other dental practices. We were able to come up and say, hey, that sort of looks like the floor plan we're looking for. And then with the help of Zach and his designer, we're able to really make that come to life a little bit more, so that construction wise, they kind of knew where we were starting, and we didn't have to go all the way. Well, we did kind of initially start from scratch, but we didn't have to start from scratch again, which was really helpful. So I just wanted to put that piece in there that it would have saved us a lot of time if we had just done that to start with, in looking at what floor plans you've done before, and then also just working with you and your designer to really hone in on what was going to work out best to start with construction.
Yeah, and that's a great point to bring up to Jessica, is because there are a lot of offices that would start with a construction team and then backpedal to the equipment team. So for us being solely in dental, that's what we breathe, eat, and sleep is dental. We've done thousands of dental practices across the country, so we know what works and what doesn't work, as well as follow ADA codes, the type of treatments, and even planning that you guys envision in the practice. So that's something that starting out with us first, then we can guide the construction architectural team to have a better fit for you when it comes to coming and deciding with that final plan. So it's always great to start with the actual local equipment team and then move from there. So thank you for identifying that.
Yeah, no, of course. So I know you were going to show us some examples of some floor plans that you guys maybe utilize to help dentists kind of get started.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I will share my screen here. So what we do when it comes to deciding what that best floor plan might be, we first determine what type of practice we'll be building. So whether it's general dentistry, orthodontics, pediatric, oral surgery, endodontics, prosthodontics, and so forth, we can hone in on what that best design might be for a practice. And in the Martin's case, we were looking at general dentistry space. So each space is designed again as part of their vision, but we can use these designs based on space, layout, flow, orientation of the space that's available, and kind of hone in on what works best for that project and for that owner. So we'll pull up just one right here, just shy of 1,900 square feet. So when we're looking at a plan, we're not only looking at the clinical areas, but we're also looking at the public, which would be the reception, lobby, bathroom, and so forth, to clinical, and then private, which would be your break room, offices, and so forth. And we're also working or looking at what that best flow might be. So when I say that, I'm referring to best location for your extraoral imaging, whether that's 2D or 3D, where the hygiene operatories versus doctor operatories might be, as well as the lab and sterilization. And especially in today's age, sterilization is going to be a key component to where it plays a role in the practice. So having a centralized location for sterilization is going to be critical. So we look again at public, clinical, and private, and then we can configure it in any which way that you guys would like. So again, we have numerous options on our Henry Schein Integrated Design Studios website that anybody has access to. So anybody can log in and find these floor plans and then either use them for their own benefit or use them to help recreate what might work best for them. So this is something that is really cool that we offer. In addition to the floor plans, if somebody wanted to get a little bit more detail before they kind of move it into that next stage of construction, we do offer 3D renderings that will allow that doctor to truly envision what that practice might be. So when you have a practice such as this 1,800 square foot practice, there's a lot of flow within the practice. So someone might want to see how that flow might look through a 3D rendering. And that is, again, something that we do offer. And we offer it through the partnership of the purchase of equipment and technology. So these are complementary when it is a partnership. And then if it is merely just a design aspect, we do have designs with design agreements available as well. So
Cool.
really cool offering that we do have.
What I noticed too when we started looking at these, Zach, was that you guys have done such a great job of space allocation and really, utilizing what space is there and maximizing, what you're going to get from it. So we were initially looking at like a 5,000 square foot building. And then when we started looking at your renderings, we were like, gosh, a 5,000 square foot building, they're fitting in way more treatment rooms than we are planning for. Let's look at a building with less square footage, which obviously affects price in a huge way. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's one of the first things too that we would want to talk about is what does that budget look like? What are the needs for as the number of operatories? So when we're planning a space, we're typically allocating about 450 square feet per operatory. And that's not necessarily just the operatory itself, but it's the space around it as far as hallways and the length of sterilization. So we take all that discussion in wrap it into one big idea, which will then kind of direct us what might be the best square footage for that practice. So a really cool offering that we have. And again, each equipment specialist throughout the state or throughout the country rather would have their own designer that would help plan and create these plans for their customers, such as we have done so with the Martins.
Yeah, I just think it's such a great value because what you would pay an architect to come up with a floor plan for you, and you still need to have architecture involved, but to start
Absolutely.
that initial process and then to look to construction companies to get bids based on what size building you need, like this is a great place to start because you're going to need equipment anyway. Chances are you're going to be adding equipment if you already are bringing over what you have. So you're going to
Mhm.
need to utilize a vendor like Henry Schein to get that equipment in your new space. So why not utilize this service to add value to that relationship so that you can really get off on a great start with your new project and something you're going to, again, kind of work together on anyway in terms of needing more equipment.
Yeah, and that's a great thing to bring up. It really, the whole thing that has been the center point for this offering is the value that we bring. So whether that's new equipment or even used equipment, or if we're blending the two together, we're here to help you in any situation. And really what we do, and I'm glad you brought this up, Jessica, is we do actually help with the planning of rough bid sets. So we would provide this to the builder of your choice or multiple bidders or construction companies that will be bidding on the project. We allow them to have access to our plan that provides all the necessary information for them to get the accurate numbers. So again, that's another key point as to why it's important to bring us in early and first so that we can speed up the process and offer the most accurate information. And then as we go through the equipment selections or even having the discussion of equipment that you might be bringing over from a pre-existing space, we'll actually space the location and spec it out for that specific equipment. So nothing's general, though some call outs might be. We're really designing it around the equipment that you have either selected or already have at another location. So that is a great thing to bring up.
Yeah, I love that piece because I'm quite type A and I'm a planner, so it makes me nervous to think, gosh, how do we figure out what cabinetry we need and how much counter space we need for certain areas of the building when we don't exactly, it's hard to feel it when you're just designing it on paper, but because you're able to say, okay, you're bringing this piece over and this piece and you're going to buy this piece when you can, you're mapping that out to make sure that we've got the space we need, we've got the drawers we need where we need them, and it makes it just so much more seamless.
Absolutely. And when it comes to redesigning cabinetry, that's where we can really look at elevations and really plan what's going to be important within that cabinetry. So you mentioned something as far as drawers and spacing, layout. That's something that through this design process, we're also then diving into how is that cabinetry supposed to be set up for you and how is it going to be set up in the most efficient way for your staff.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so talk us through the process of working with someone like you.
Absolutely. So, kind of like what we've already discussed, we're going to start out with a vision plan meeting. So it's really just casual. It'd be, the owners of the practice as well as the field sales consultant, the equipment specialist, and then sometimes we'd like to bring in the technology specialist as well to just get an idea of what you look for at that point. At that point, we take that information back to our team. But in the midst of that conversation and side discussion with the design department, the customer then would be going and looking for financing, which we do offer internal, but we welcome and work with third party all the time. So there's no issue with that as well. Then we're going to be working on site selection. So whether you work with a broker, you might already have a space in mind. We do have services that can actually help renegotiate leases or even find space in general. But again, third party is just fine. Then you're going to be doing those negotiations. And then we really dive into that design floor plan that through the vision meeting, we'd already have that plan designed. And then we start taking a look at it and dive into it. At that point, we can make corrections, updates, add to it, whatever you find necessary. Within that time, then we're looking at, okay, well, what type of equipment and what brand equipment might be going into the space, or what might be added in the future that might not be there today, but something that we're going to at least need call outs for so that it's a simple installation in the future. At that point, we're releasing the bid spec plan to the construction teams of your choice. Again, we work with many within each state, so we can always give recommendations, but we will work with anybody that you feel comfortable with. At that point, once you've made the decision on who you're going to be working with from a building standpoint, it will send the plan out for permits. And then while construction starts and begins, we're not only talking about how is that project going, but how are we going to be bringing patients in to that practice when that practice opens. So there's a lot of moving parts in this section of the project, but we're going to help along the way each and every step. And so during construction, one of the key things for me as an equipment specialist is I'm actually on site with the team. So not just providing a plan to the construction team, I'm actually physically on site. I'm fortunate enough to have a project manager as well who joins me on these meetings, where we actually help the construction team properly map out and spot utilities. Now that's a really key thing when it comes to dental. Let's say you work with somebody that's more just commercial and they necessarily haven't done a dental practice in the past, which is completely fine. We're there to help and support them as far as what's needed in that operatory, what spacing and where that location might be. Once that the work is done for rough ends, then we come back and verify, hey, did they get everything in? Is it in the correct locations? And then we can move forward with construction once we sign off on that. So we're really there throughout the entire construction process. At that point, then we will plan from the Henry Schein end, along with the construction team and the owners, when that best time might be for installation. We will do a full test through our Henry Schein technicians, do a dry run with the staff, and lead it right into the grand opening of the practice. So really, as you can see, from the very beginning to the very end, we're with you the whole time, and that goes past the completion of the project. Going forward, you'll always have myself or any other equipment specialist as a local support, as well as the technicians that work on this equipment.
Wow, that's great. So I want doctors to remember that this is an option for them if they are ready to make a change, such as adding on to their existing building or building something from scratch, because whether or not they have that plan right now, it could happen that an unforeseeable event occurs. I know, Zach, you've been working closely with one of the doctors in Wisconsin that their practice literally just started on fire and burnt to the ground. And so not part of the plan necessarily, but obviously needing to rebuild, and just to remember that this great value is here for you if you're planning for that, or if something happens and you need to make a shift and put something new up anyway.
Absolutely. I mean, we've experienced every situation when it comes to, like you just mentioned, offices burning down in the middle of construction, offices flooding. I've been involved even in practices that have had drunk drivers drive into the practice at night. There really is endless scenarios that we've dealt with, but we've always overcome those scenarios. And whether it's a brand new practice to a remodel, even merely just an operatory remodel or an addition, we can really handle any scope of a project and really have a team designed to support in any situation. So I'm very proud to work for the company that I do work for. The fact that we can offer these services as some other companies might not. We are a leading force when it comes to this. And again, I'm proud to be a part of this team.
Yeah, thank you, Zach. It's great. I know personally for us to be able to work so closely with someone like you to just help all the little moving parts go together really seamlessly through what can be a pretty stressful process in building a new practice. So I appreciate you and I appreciate your time today and sharing with us what's possible for doctors that are looking for this type of service. How can people reach out or how can they connect with these types of services if they're interested?
So always recommend working with your local support team from Henry Schein. It always starts out with your field sales consultant or Henry Schein rep. These will be the individuals that visit your practice on a regular basis. If you have any ideas, even if it's not now, but in the future, and just had some simple questions, let them know. At that point, then they will bring in any of the specialists that they find is a good suit and fit for that project, or just even that discussion in general. In the case of Wisconsin, they can always reach out to me directly if you feel comfortable. My cell phone is 262-565-3512. And my email address is Zach.Rigsby, which is Rigsby at henryshine.com. And then one last thing I'd like to pull up is I do have a website designed that if you are in that process, that it might not be a project now, but in the future, might be small, might be large, whatever you're looking to do. I do have a website that you can visit and just take a look. No pressure to anybody, but it is zachrigsby.com. And this is where you can find all the items that we might sell within an operatory, all the way down to the office design. So if you want to get involved or want to check out what we might offer through the design department, just simply click on the office design, scroll down to visit site, and it'll bring you to Henry Schein's Integrated Design Studio website. And then you can also look at my past portfolio on practices that I've done. So this is another route that I've personally taken for customers to reach out to me, whether it's, again, practices and projects that they want to start now or in the future. So again, always start with your local team. They'll direct you in the right path. And again, every state and center has this service and service offering to offer to their partners.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Zach, so much for your time today and for all that you do.
Absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity, Jessica.
All right. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, you too. Take care.